it's been a really fun ride. We started the non-alcoholic beer market basically had flatlined for 30 years before 10 years ago, where we came in and like to think we reimagined both the product and the marketing of the category, taking it out of the penalty box into the mainstream with delicious flavors. And we've taken it as a category from about 100 million to passing $1 billion in the U.S. market this year. And we think that could continue to grow. We expect it to 5x in the next 10 years, with athletic being 25% of that market. Right now, athletic is about 18.4 share of the total category. The next biggest is about 14.5 share, and then it's another 4-point drop to the next brand behind that. Athletic's also 52 share of the non-alcoholic craft beer category, which has well over 100 brands. So we're outselling the next 100 plus combined. And it's really meeting that next generation of consumers where they're at.
What's been the competitive response from some of the big brewers, which I can't even know their names now. They've all merged into like one big entity, I think.
For sure. So as you've heard on the segment before too, over 40% of consumers are doing dry January this year. Over 50% of consumers now view 1 or 2 drinks a day as unhealthy, and a record low number of Americans are also consuming alcohol on a weekly basis. So this is a huge growth opportunity for the adult beverage market. And a lot of companies were late to that, but over the last 5 years, basically every major brand has entered that category with an alcoholic analog to their, or non-alcoholic analog to their full strength version. And we really appreciate that support and growing the category.
It's so funny to me because I didn't have an alcoholic beverage in my life until I was nearly 30, I think. And I wonder what makes somebody reach for a non-alcoholic beer when there are so many other drinks that are already non-alcoholic out there.
For sure. So when we started Athletic, and I would try to get people to taste samples or buy one of our beers, getting people to cross that barrier was so hard 7 or 8 years ago. But I think the light bulb that goes on over and over again for people is that it is such a delicious meal pairing at a fraction of the calories as a full-strength alcohol equivalent. For example, we were just talking about before I came in how our Athletic Light is 25 calories, no sugar, light in carbs, but a full taste. That's like a perfect guilt-free weeknight beer. And then we brought a ton of innovation to the market too. For example, we're now launching an excited lineup of non-alcoholic brewed cocktails this January at select retailers like Target, and all these different fun flavored
like what? Give us a foretaste.
Yeah, so we have off that Athletic Light Lager, we have an Athletic Light Lime and Salt launching this year. And in a typical year, we launch almost 50 different styles of beers on our website, athleticbrewing.com, where before Athletic Brewing, this category was a lager-only category. So from day one, we've really blown the lid off what taste and availability can be in this category.
Who's a typical Athletic drinker, customer?
So when we came into the category, this category was typically a lapsed alcohol drinker. It was very male heavy. It was an older population generally. And since we've redefined the product and marketing of the category, we've seen that drift younger and younger every year. We think 45% of our consumers are below age 45, very heavy in Gen Z consumers. Really as people have grown up in this digital generation where you have your work in your pocket at all times. Everything in your life is filmed and recorded and on record. And people still like to drink, but then they like to zebra stripe and work in non-alcoholic options
What's
too.
zebra striping? And I heard that and I forgot it already.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped right over that. It's basically, and this has been shocking to me. I hear from bartenders all the time that people order alcoholic drinks, non-alcoholic, alcoholic.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
That's a brilliant idea. You could put food in there too. That would actually be an
sure.
even better idea. Curious, how do you do it? You have so many options, and as you say, you're trying out different ones all the time. I mean, are you very non-profitable, or how does it work? That costs a lot of money.
Well, at the end of the day, in our retail lineup, we're very focused. We have a core group of about 5 beers, which are very popular and highly awarded. We won 33 Taste Awards last year alone, and have won about 185 Taste Awards since. You know, there's been a plethora of entrants into this category, from major brewers to there's been 10 celebrity brands with more on the way. And almost none of these companies make their own beer. Where Athletic has gone the other way, we invested $130 million into our own manufacturing, our brewing quality teams, and ultimately consumers like to know they want to get the best products and like to know what's behind their products. And after that celebrity hype, they've really loved what they found in Athletic. And so we really try to stay focused in our retail lineup and bring people the best beers over and over again.
I got to put my investment banker hat back on. How do you capitalize your company? I'm always fascinated to see how these private companies, entrepreneurial companies, how they finance themselves.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, like I came from the financial world, it's such an interesting world these days between private and public capital. And we have been so fortunate to have great access to private capital, from angel investors to private equity investors like Alliance Consumer Growth and General Atlantic, and an institutional investor in Keurig Dr. Pepper. And that's afforded us the opportunity over the past 8 years to invest $130 million into our U.S. manufacturing base. Non-alcoholic breweries and tap rooms weren't a thing before Athletic in the country. We built the first one, and since then we've built them that are 100 times the output of the original brewery on both coasts. And in that world, we have found really good access to capital in the private markets, but ultimately it is really exciting for us to think about potentially being a public company or running a long-term private company.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about that, but first I have to say the marketing is brilliant, because you're a non-alcoholic brewery, but you're targeting athletes and people who go for hikes, and serious mountaineers and dog lovers and outdoorsy people. I mean, it's amazing. So what is the trajectory that you see before going public? I mean, are you going to open breweries around the country? Are you going to have bars? Is that something that can be profitable and add to the bottom line? Or is it better to have people just subscribe and sort of have it as beer as a service as opposed to software as a service?
Yeah. Well, in terms of our target customer, I basically built the target customer around my lifestyle, because I was authentically living this as a busy professional, love the outdoors. 70% of the population considers themselves an athlete, even though you'll never find me on any podiums anywhere. I love being out there and participating. And so it was really about that health and wellness trend. And then, beyond that, our awareness is still very low. It's about 25% nationally. So and our distribution is only about 39% with our top product, where a lot of the major beer companies, even in our category, even though Athletic's the number one, have double our distribution. So we have a huge amount of awareness and distribution to go over the next 5-10 years. And that allows us, we also are trying to open the aperture to who drinks beer, where beer over the past 30 years had been marketing to smaller and smaller audiences. And so this January, we're working with Open Table with a big partnership to expand into the culinary world, chefs and athletes and stuff.